The Phoenix Suns made history in two directions tonight, setting their own franchise win record and capping off one of the most disappointing seasons in NBA history by the Los Angeles Lakers. We'll break it all down on today's Locked On Suns.
You are Locked On Suns, your daily Phoenix Suns podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
We are back. This is Locked On Phoenix Suns. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, and I'm your host, Brendon Kleen, a contributor at Suns.com, as well as Dime Magazine, and a credentialed media member covering this Suns team for the past 5 seasons. Thank you for making Locked On Suns your first listen today and every day. We are headed toward the playoffs in no time. We'll have a recap of the Clippers game tomorrow. You can support the show by subscribing wherever you are finding us. Our growing YouTube channel, every single podcast platform. Just scroll down, half a scroll, hit subscribe, and you are on your way to getting this show right in your inbox every single morning. 121 to 110, our final score tonight, which is a lie of a final score, frankly. The Suns blew out the Lakers. 11 is a lie. That is not really the story of this game. It was a blowout. But that's also not the story of this game. The story of this game is the Suns making history, as I just got done saying. 63-16, 3 games still to go. We'll see what the Suns' final record is, but this now cements them in the history books for the franchise. The most wins in a regular season ever by a Suns team, beating out 2 past teams, the 1992-93 team and the first Nash season. And that's where we got to start. Well, we're not starting with the Lakers. We're not starting with the embarrassment of that. I've talked about that for 2 days straight. I nailed this. I knew that this blowout, this beatdown was coming. I knew that the Suns would not rest anybody in this game. I predicted all of this, and I've been talking about it for days. I don't want to hit on that yet. What I would like to hit on is the momentousness of doing it this way. So I won't get into the embarrassment of the Lakers, but I do think beating the Lakers, having that team be the one that this record-breaking night happened against, is significant. And I went through yesterday on the show the history and the legacy of not only the Suns-Lakers rivalry, but the recent history of the Phoenix-LA sports rivalry. One recent one I didn't include is the Rams kicking the crap out of the Cardinals, but maybe my mind is blocking and blacking that completely out as if it didn't happen, and I will deal with it psychologically at a later date. But the other thing I forgot was these two teams' recent history. I listed off the first round series. I listed off, Kobe Bryant taking only passing in what was it, game 5 to prove some sort of point. But this season has had its own chapter in that legacy that I did not really incorporate enough into what we were talking about. And so let's do that, because 3 weeks ago, these two teams met. And for some odd reason, Anthony Davis, actually, aside from what he even said, which I'll get to in a second, I don't even know why the dude was speaking pregame. It was some sort of impromptu media availability to announce that he was close to a return. He wasn't actually going to be returning. He did not play in the game, but it was a home game in Phoenix for the Suns. AD spoke pregame and decided to jump back into the playoff series from last year and say that the only reason the Suns won, basically, I'm not quoting him verbatim, but this was the gist of it. The only reason the Suns won last season's first round series is because Davis himself was hurt. And we also got the Devin Booker laughing meme out of that. We got what was like a 30-point win despite LeBron having, I believe, 37 points. The Suns still blew them out. And that added more fuel to the fire. You can also incorporate the salsa cam that the Suns have put into their arena, which they used in that game. They did not use tonight, which was an incredible missed opportunity. But that is another layer to the bad blood between these two squads. You have the LeBron post up and then Andre Drummond leading this performance, this pirouetting of post up joke that he did to make fun of Crowder, to clown Jay Crowder. And then Crowder throws it right back in LeBron's face by making fun of the Sprite commercial, the salsa dance. And that all contributes. And I did not talk about that yesterday. So needless to say, this game had a lot going on aside from any of the Lakers getting officially eliminated with a Spurs win and their loss tonight, or the Suns breaking the record. These teams do not like each other. In the game, that was evidenced by a couple things. One, Devin Booker going off, which he tends to do against the Lakers these days. He again hit 6 threes in a regular season game, so he's still not hit 7 in the regular season. But he scored 32 points in 30 minutes and really was the back-breaking bucket getter at every big moment of this game. The Lakers didn't have an answer for him when it was KCP and Alex Caruso. They certainly don't have an answer for him now. I couldn't even tell you if I was to put one player out there that I would think would have even a shot at guarding Booker. I don't even know who I would say. It was Avery Bradley a lot. It was Austin Reeves a lot. No, those guys are not cutting it. The other way that you could see the sort of bad blood, the history, the emotion between these two squads tonight is, well, I don't even know if it's evidence of the emotion. I don't know if the Suns were going at Anthony Davis for anything other than he's very much hobbled still and is not able to move, not able to jump, not full speed. He's limping. He's stretching out the right foot every chance he gets. So I don't know if it was some sort of payback for what he said. I don't know if it's worth reading that much into it, but they were attacking him. And whether they meant it or not, it just reinforced the lack of ability of AD to stay healthy is a big part of what has befallen the Lakers the past couple seasons. So you can't separate those two things. I feel like I've been saying this for weeks, ever since Davis originally made his comments, but Davis being hurt is part of the Lakers experience. You can't say, oh, if Anthony Davis was not hurt. You couldn't say it tonight because he was out there, but very much less than 100%, and it was something the Suns could exploit. You can't say it about last year's playoffs. So going after Davis the way that they did, getting Deandre Ayton going, which I will talk about in the next segment, getting shots at the rim for both Booker and Chris Paul, lots of lobs, all that. That is a direct answer. It was a statement, even if it wasn't intentional, on the part of the Suns to say, hey, we can do this. Say what you want. Go back in the time machine all you want. We can do this to you, and we will. So 63 wins, magical night for the Suns to do it at home. Lakers officially eliminated, and another incredible chapter added to this rivalry between cities, between teams, and the Suns getting the last laugh once again. Talk a little bit about the strategy in this game, some of the actual X's and O's of what happened as it pertains to what the Suns might look like going forward, because they're not dealing with the Lakers anymore. No one is, but we still learned some things. We'll get into those in a second. First, though, guys, today's show is brought to you by Shady Rays. Shady Rays is an independent sunglasses company that gives you the features of $200 glasses for a fraction of the price. That means polarized lenses, well-constructed, durable frames, and premium high-end finishes. Also, you will not find anywhere else is Shady Rays' insane protection program. Shady Rays includes lost and broken protection on every pair. They'll send you a brand new pair if you lose them, no matter what happened, or if you break them, of course. Give them a try, and if you don't love them, you'll pay nothing. It's as simple as that. In addition, 10 meals are donated to fight hunger in America when you shop at Shady Rays. So here's an exclusive offer for Locked On listeners. Head to shadyrays.com, SHADYRAYS, and use the promo code Locked On to get 50% off 2 or more pairs of polarized sunglasses. That's code Locked On for Shady Rays' best deal of the year. 50% off 2 or more pairs of Shady Rays sunglasses, backed by over 150,000 verified 5-star reviews. All right, the big thing that I think we have to get to from a scheme standpoint, from a X's and O's standpoint, what really happened in this game aside from the hoopla around both teams' narratives is that Deandre Ayton played a very, very strong game. Again, I will repeat that Anthony Davis is clearly not 100%. He is hampered with his athleticism, his leaping ability, all that stuff, as I said. Right ankle, right foot will obviously do that to you. A lower body injury for somebody as big as he is, the Suns were smart to go after that. But it still, nevertheless, is impressive because the Lakers also started Dwight Howard. So at the beginning of this game, you had Crowder on Davis and Ayton on Howard, but it didn't matter who was out there. Ayton was dominant. 4 offensive rebounds. He seemed to get a hand on 4 more, tipping them and eventually giving up on them. He was out hustling and out leaping Anthony Davis to rebound after rebound. He was igniting fast breaks really well, I thought, getting defensive rebounds and hitting that outlet quickly. He was also efficient inside. He was able to score in a lot of situations. A lot of lobs. The Lakers, because of Davis not being able to make up ground, you can tell they are reverting back to the habits that they have when Davis is out there, but he's not himself. So they are blitzing or sort of hedging against pick and rolls, meaning that they have Davis shuffle his feet out to the perimeter, sort of halfway contain and rotate over to the ball handler and then recover back to the big man, but he can't recover. So what was happening is a lot of those lobs were wide open to Ayton, to McGee, just easy, just wow, there's nobody around you. Let me get you the ball. And both Booker and Paul were finding that pretty consistently. Jay Crowder had a couple of nice passes in those situations. And then the other thing is the Suns were excellent in transition. So Deandre Ayton was a part of that, but he had 22 points and 13 rebounds. Some of that came in transition. But when it wasn't Ayton, a lot of the offense really was coming, I don't want to say all fast break, although they did have 21 fast break points, which is pretty good considering how strict that fast break classification is. Like if you ever actually look at a box score, NBA statisticians inside of arenas are such sticklers on fast break points. So to get 21 was pretty nice. But even aside from that, they were just moving the ball and moving their bodies down the floor at a really high level. The Lakers missed 20 of their 29 threes, so the Suns were moving off of that. The Lakers had 16 turnovers, so the Suns were able to push the pace on those moments. Russell Westbrook had 6 turnovers and only 3 assists, not his best night. And yeah, the seals are interesting because for a long time it was such a highlight of how Ayton was getting involved, that he was sealing off his man, but you're seeing it with other players. You're seeing it with Booker, Bridges, guys. If they have a size mismatch, they're going to exploit it. They're going to get a quick post up that seal deep inside the paint, and they're going to make you guard them. They're going to turn it into a scoring opportunity. So Booker was doing a little bit of that. Basically, this Lakers team has suddenly become, the story coming out of the bubble was how big they are. And suddenly they've become so small because Howard is not as good as he used to be. They don't have perimeter size. And so the Suns were able to exploit that. As I said, they don't have to worry about the Lakers anymore. But what this game can show us, I think, is how the Suns, the readiness that the Suns have to go to some of those matchups more consistently. It took a little bit, I would say, for us to really get an understanding and for the team to really get an understanding of what Ayton's role and usefulness was going to be in a playoff setting. And of course, that's going to differ series to series based on who the opponent is. But overall, we learned last year in the playoffs what Ayton's going to do to be effective play with incredible energy, execute defensively what is asked of him, control the paint, switch if needed, handle different pick and roll coverages. And then on offense, attack any mismatch in sight, finish at a high level, roll hard, offensive rebound, and that's it. And that was enough for the whole basketball world to discover and simultaneously fall in love with Deandre Ayton. But it took a bit. I mean, he was good in that Lakers series. Don't get me wrong. I believe he had a 20-point plus game one. But there were some growing pains. There was some feeling out of like, how much can the Suns afford to get him the ball without it going outside the flow of the offense? Looking for him on those seals more consistently rather than just on the roll. Thinking of him as a threat in transition and on a fast break more so than just taking threes. Some of those things where the switch didn't flip right away, but by the end of the playoffs was a major part of how the Suns were operating. That will happen right away this year. And I think that will actually go a long way. The fact that we're still seeing it, it's continued along throughout this whole season. We also know Ayton has his hook shot now. He has a little bit of a floater. He's become a better passer. He has more of that mid-range game that's more consistent. There's a lot of ways that he might get used. It might be more than what he did last year, but at the very least, that baseline is there for him, and we saw it again tonight, and it's going to be a big part of what leads to Suns wins in the postseason. So very good to see, even if the competition was not quite elite tonight. All right, one big thing I want to hit in the last segment, the Bench Mob Vibe Check. We'll go deep on one particular player who has been lingering outside the rotation, surprisingly, for a little while now. But first, guys, today's show also brought to you by Built Bar, the best tasting protein bar ever and my favorite protein bar. I personally love double chocolate, mint brownie, salted caramel. I'm really the richness, the deep chocolate, the dark chocolate. That is what woos me. But you might be different. Maybe you like strawberry, maybe you like orange, or maybe you want something entirely different altogether, and that's where Built Puffs come in. I'm looking right now, and in celebration of Easter, of the spring, they are selling Yellow Chirps, which are a mini version of the Built Puff, just a snack size, which, as you can guess, is similar to another marshmallow birdie treat that you might love, but packed with protein. That's the thing about Built bars, Built Puffs, anything. They're never going to have more than 5 grams of sugar, never going to get past 200 calories, but they're going to be packed with 15 to 20 grams of protein. At Built, they're all about taste. They make it delicious first, and then they figure out how to make it healthy, and they pull it off every single time. So go to Built.com, check out the Yellow Chirps, check out all the puffs, all the classic bars, and use the promo code LOCK15 when you make your purchase to get 15% off your next order. That's promo code LOCK15 for 15% off at Built.com. Closing things out with the Bench Mob Vibe Check here. The Suns winners 121-110. The game was in hand by the fourth quarter, so we really did not, I don't believe we saw the starters at all in the fourth quarter. Maybe at the very beginning. I could be remembering that incorrectly, but it was a lot of the bench and then into the deep bench by the end. Bismack Biyombo, Ife Lundberg, Ish Wainwright, and then one interesting guy here, and it's Aaron Holiday. So we had talked about Aaron Holiday a ton when he first got here. My weekly guest, Aaron Edwards, who shares a name with him, of course, was head over heels. We sang his praises, I feel like, after every game for a while. And a lot of that came when Chris Paul was still out. A lot of that came when Cameron Payne actually was still out. There were games where the point guard rotation was basically Holiday and Payton and Elfrid Payton. I was convinced that Aaron Holiday would be part of the playoff rotation. I was convinced that Monty would carve out a role for him. We were even talking about, can Holiday take over Landry Shamet's spot in the rotation? That hasn't exactly happened. Shamet kind of found his rhythm a little bit, and you see even just the difference in size that he brings, being a little bit bigger and a little bit longer. Shamet seems to be firmly in that rotation. But I thought Holiday would stay there too. I thought Monty would be fine playing 11 guys in the regular season. And then once it came to be playoff time, maybe it's just one or two of Payne, Shamet, and Holiday. But instead, Monty has basically cut Holiday out of the playoff rotation, well, the current rotation entirely, and the playoffs are not too far away, which would, in theory, mean this is sort of the rotation that Monty is running with heading into the playoffs. I don't understand it, I guess, is the bottom line here. I think Holiday gives you something different. I think he has a decent command over the offense. He has the ability to get to that pull-up three. He has the ability to drive and kick. His defensive intensity is really good, even if he is a little bit undersized. He can be somebody that you full court press with, similar to what Javon Carter brought to this team. He's somebody that is going to make open shots for the most part, and everybody loved him. This team really responded well to him, even though he was a brand new point guard in a fairly sophisticated offense, sort of coming in cold. He won his teammates over. So I just don't know, other than obviously the size disadvantage that I just said and the experience factor, which I do get. You want to have Cameron Payne having the ball in his hands any moment that Chris Paul does not. But I guess to me, it felt like there was room for all of them. And we know the Suns are going to go more to multiple guard lineups with Shamet, with Payne, with Booker, with Paul, mixing and matching all those guys. I figured Holiday could be part of that. Doesn't seem like that's the case, though, which, again, all you gave up was cash. It's basically why not? Holiday directly impacted multiple Suns wins already this season, so you can't exactly complain. I just am surprised that it wrapped up so quickly and that Holiday is already sort of, deep reserve for this team. Maybe that changes. Maybe there's a matchup where they need his point of attack defense, or they want to press somebody full court where Payne is not playing very well, Shamet is not playing very well, and they have the luxury of a ready-made rotation caliber player in Holiday just sitting there on the bench. That is a good thing to have, of course, but it went up and back down faster than any of us could even realize it, it seems, and Holiday now on the outside looking in. So something to monitor in that bench mob. We'll see what this rotation continues to look like. We'll see how much it gets whittled down. Of course, that happens in the playoffs as well, which are not too far away, guys. Keep it right here. Subscribe if you have not already. We have the Clippers game tomorrow. We have one more show on Friday to close out the week, and then playoff time will be here, previewing the first round series, reacting to the play-in games. Next week should be a blast, so do not miss a thing. Thank you for making Locked On Suns your first listen every single day now. Go make Locked On NBA your second listen to catch up on the latest in the playoff chase across the league. I will talk to you guys tomorrow.